asked. Corvin closed his eyes. The right lever is continue. It forces the machine to keep running, but to do that, it has to erase everything. All memories, every mind in town, wiped clean. Lena's blood ran cold. "That's not saving people," she whispered. "That's destroying them." Corvin sagged, exhausted. "I know, I didn't want it to come to this." Another orb shattered, a woman screaming, a house fire, a child's lost face. The images tore at Lena's heart. The machine was in agony. So was the man who had built it. Chapter 8, Corvin's Burden. The memory clock's light flickered wildly as Corvin sank to his knees beside it. "I never planned to take so much from them," he said hoarsely. "I only wanted to remove the worst memories, the ones that broke people." Lena knelt across from him, her voice gentler now. "What happened to your daughter, Mr. Corvin?" The question hung heavy. Corvin gripped the floor to steady himself. "My daughter, Miriam, was brilliant, curious, always taking apart my clocks and trying to rebuild them better." He laughed weakly. "She was like you." Lena stayed quiet. "One winter," Corvin continued, "she caught a fever. We lived far from town back then. The roads were snowed over. By the time I reached help, it was too late." The chamber hummed sympathetically, as if echoing his grief. Corvin wiped his eyes. "I built the prototype of this machine to remove the memory of losing her. I thought if I could forget, the pain would stop. But instead I lost the last pieces of her I still had." He gestured to the glowing orbs. "When people heard what I'd created, they wanted the same escape. And his voice broke, I thought I was giving them a blessing." Lena's heart ached for him. But the shaking machine reminded her, this wasn't just his pain anymore, it was everyone's. "What will you do if I pull restore?" she asked. Corvin stared at the machine. "I'll face everything I've tried to hide. I'll face the town's anger. I'll face myself." His voice grew quiet. "But it's not my choice, Lena, it's yours." The lights in the chamber flickered dangerously. The machine didn't have much time left. Chapter 9, The Choice. Lena stepped toward the control panel. The two levers were metal, old, and cold under her fingertips. "Restore air continue." The machine screeched like a wounded animal. Lena squeezed her eyes shut. She thought of her mother's laugh, her father teaching her how to fix the old radio, her friend Nora, who cried in secret after her brother moved away, her teacher Mrs. Blythe, who once said memories, good or bad, were the map of a life. If this machine erased everything, no one in Brimley Hollow would know who they were anymore. But if she restored everything, everyone would feel their pain again. She looked at Mr. Corvin. His face was lined with unbearable sorrow, but his eyes were honest. "It has to be restore," Lena said softly. "People deserve their whole story." Corvin nodded once hard, "Then do it." The machine moaned, fissures spreading across its glass sides like spiderwebs. Lena braced herself, grabbed the restore lever, and pulled. Chapter 10, The Storm of Memories. The chamber exploded with light. Not fire, not heat. Memories, thousands of them. They burst from the shelves in swirling streams like golden smoke, faces, voices, places. Laughing, crying, loving, losing, words whispered and shouted and sung. They blended around Lena in a chaotic storm. She felt them pass through her like gusts of wind. A wedding dance, a broken promise, a mother holding her newborn, a boy scraping his knee on a stone path, a grandfather saying goodbye, a girl opening a clock to her door. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her mind wasn't absorbing the memories. They were simply brushing past her, racing upward through the staircase and into the town above like flocks of birds going home. The memory clock let out a final sharp ringing sound. And shattered. Glass rained down like stars. Lena hit the floor, everything went black. Chapter 11, Waking to the Truth. Lena, can you hear me?" Someone shook her shoulder gently. Lena groaned and opened her eyes. Mr. Corvin was kneeling beside her, though he looked 10 years older than he had minutes ago. His hair hung limp against his forehead, his skin pale. "You're all right," he said softly. "You're safe." Lena sat up slowly. The chamber was dim now, silent, empty, ordinary. The orbs were gone, the shelves bare. "It worked," she whispered. Corvin nodded. Everyone in town will wake with their memories restored, he said quietly. Slowly, naturally, the way memories are meant to return after being hidden too long. Lena took a slow breath. What will you do now? Corvin didn't answer immediately. He looked up toward the staircase, toward the world above. I'll tell them the truth, he said finally. They deserve that much. He helped Lena to her feet. You saved them, he said. I built a machine that stole their memories, but you gave them back. Lena shook her head. No, I just made the choice you couldn't. Corvin smiled faintly. Exactly. Together, they climbed the stairs. They didn't know what waited for them above, forgiveness or anger, healing or unrest, maybe both. But for the first time in years, the air in the tower felt lighter. Brimley Hollow was remembering again. Part III, The Aftermath. Chapter 12, A Town Awakens. Morning broke over Brimley Hollow in an unusually gentle way. The fog had lifted completely, leaving soft sunlight to spill across the cobblestones. Birds chirped, children laughed, and the air smelled faintly of bread and dew. But there was something different. People seemed to notice more. Every gesture, every glance carried the weight of memory returned. Mrs. Plim stopped halfway down the street, staring at her laundry basket. Her eyes widened. Oh, she exclaimed, I remember where I put this. She laughed with relief. Across the square, the delivery boy clutched his bicycle with an embarrassed grin. Guess I do know how to ride it, he muttered. At the school, teachers and students alike moved with new awareness. Forgotten lessons, lost chores, and misremembered events all returned, flooding the town with a strange combination of chaos and relief. And somewhere in the crowd, Lena watched quietly. She wasn't just observing, she was listening. Every gasp, laugh, and whispered memory made her realize the magnitude of what had happened. She had made the right choice. Chapter 13, Facing Mr. Corvin. Word spread quickly, the memory clock had been destroyed, memories had returned, everyone wanted answers. Corvin, with Lena at his side, stood in the town square. A small crowd had gathered. Their faces were a mixture of curiosity, relief, and, for some, anger. Lena's hand rested lightly on his shoulder. It's time, she said softly. Corvin nodded, clearing his throat. I am Elias Corvin, he began. I built a machine that removed memories, painful memories from people's lives. I thought I was helping, but I was wrong. I took something no one could give me permission to take. I am sorry. A silence followed. Then murmurs spread through the crowd. Questions, accusations, but also cautious understanding. A woman stepped forward. You erased my husband's memory of our argument last year. Why? Corvin bowed his head. Because I wanted to protect you, to protect him, but I see now that removing pain is not the same as helping someone heal. A man in the back muttered, so we lost ourselves for what? For you. Yes, Corvin admitted, and that was selfish, but the choice has been corrected thanks to this young lady. He gestured to Lena. A ripple of applause passed through the crowd. Some faces were hesitant, others grateful. One by one, the townspeople began to approach, some shaking Corvin's hand, some offering forgiveness, some still unsure. And through it all, Lena felt something swell inside her. Courage, yes, but also the knowledge that truth, even when painful, was always better than illusion. Chapter 14, Repairing the Tower. Over the next several days, Lena and Corvin worked tirelessly on the clock tower. The mechanical heart of the tower was intact, but worn. Gears needed realigning. Springs needed oiling. And of course, the small hidden mechanisms of the memory clock were permanently sealed away. You'll have to be careful, Corvin said as they replaced a gear. This tower has a mind of its own. I know, Lena replied. She tightened a bolt, but I think I understand it better now. Better than anyone I've ever taught, he said, smiling faintly. Together, they climbed the tower, adjusting levers, tightening screws, and testing gears. Every tick of the repaired clock sounded like a heartbeat restored, a reminder of balance returned. Above them, the sun shone brightly, casting long shadows across the town square. The townspeople watched from below, some waving, some laughing, some simply standing and listening to the reassuring chime of the tower. Chapter 15, The Lessons Learned. As Brimley Hollow settled back into normal rhythm, Lena noticed subtle changes in everyone she knew. People seemed more attentive, kinder. Children were more patient. Parents remembered lessons in empathy they had forgotten. And though the pain of memories returned, so too did joy, laughter, and love that had been temporarily lost. Lena also felt the change in herself. She had faced a choice that weighed heavily on adults far older than her. She had acted not out of fear, but out of courage and principle. Mr. Corvin watched her quietly one evening. "You've learned what I never could," he said. "What's that?" Lena asked. "That the right choice isn't always the easy one. And that sometimes, the heaviest responsibility is to let people face their own lives, however painful." Lena nodded. She felt the truth of it in her bones. Chapter 16, A New Guardian. Weeks passed. The town had returned to a steady rhythm. The fog still came, the wind still whispered through the cobblestones, but the clock tower never faltered again. Corvin and Lena worked side by side, restoring both gears and trust. One afternoon, as the sun set golden over the square, Corvin handed Lena a small, polished gear. "This is yours now," he said. "I've taught you everything I can about the tower. The town needs someone like you, someone honest, brave, and clever. One day you may take my place." Lena held the gear in her palm. The weight was small, but it felt heavier than any stone she had lifted. "I'll do my best," she promised. And she would. From that day forward, Lena Hart became not just a mechanic or a helper, but a guardian of Brimley Hollow's heartbeat, a protector of time and memory. And though mysteries still lingered in the fog, she faced them all with courage, intelligence, and the knowledge that truth, no matter how difficult, was always worth fighting for. The clock tower chimed once, twice, 3 times, a clear, steady rhythm. And the town of Brimley Hollow moved forward, whole and awake, under its watchful, faithful heart. Epilogue: Memories that last. Years later, Lena would tell the story of the memory clock to children in the town square. Not to frighten them, but to teach them. That pain is a part of life. That choices matter. That courage is often doing the right thing, even when it's terrifying. And sometimes, she would glance up at the tower's highest gears, shining in the sun, and remember the moment she pulled the lever. The moment she chose truth over comfort. It had been the hardest choice of her life, but it had saved everyone she loved. And that, she knew, was exactly what a hero needed to do.